You... Why did you come back?
Did you think you had left me behind?
Can Hellblade 2 be considered a video game? It is a fair question that I'm gonna try to shed some light on here. I've seen comments on my review that it isn't a game, but an interactive movie, more movie than a game, and similar. I've predicted that would happen, which is why I've said in the review that almost every opinion on Hellblade 2 is valid. A game, not a game, worth the price, not worth the price, tech demo, not a tech demo. To some degree all of those are true and false. I look at Hellblade as a more of an artistic piece of work on the video game spectrum. Every game by definition is a piece of art, but not every game is highly artistic. How much you value an art piece is entirely subjective, as there is no way to objectify its worth since it depends entirely on your appraisal based on your demands and what the art supplies. That is why I believe there is no one answer, as every opinion about Hellblade is almost entirely subjective, but based on a bit of fact too. Shortest and most arseholish answer would be that Hellblade 2 is a video game, because it is classified and sold as such. Factual answer provided and discussion finished in the most black and white way possible that doesn't really say anything. I can be an ass at times, but I rarely try to be one without something to back it up.
Yeah, boy.
A bit longer answer would be that it is a game because at least half the time you control the character, so it would be difficult to classify it as a movie or interactive movie. Interactive movies for me are Telltale games, for example. They have no control of the character in a sense that you have control of their movements, but instead watch scene after scene with player-based interactions happening 5% of the time or less. So the actual gameplay time is very low compared to something like Hellblade 2. Then again, in Telltale games, every second of gameplay is highly meaningful decision making that affects the outcome of the story. In Hellblade 2 we walk a lot, which isn't highly meaningful. But then again, we could go deeper into philosophy and say that if character is not moved by us in Hellblade, then nothing is gonna happen, so that would constitute it as highly meaningful gameplay no matter how shallow it is. As you can see, philosophy is a never-ending cycle of bullshit that I adore, because it can be applied to anything in life. I have to mention here a terrible game called Fork in the Tail with Rob Schneider that I've played as a kid. It was my first experience ever with such an interactive movie type game and it was weird as hell. Might be a good game to stream soon for a laugh. Now we get to the longest answer, or lack of an answer. We can all agree that Hellblade 2 has shallow gameplay. Even combat is shallow, though it works well within a game like this to remain as immersive as possible. So even with the fact that at least half the game is gameplay, but the fact that majority of it is as shallow as possible, basically walking, can there be an argument that it is more of an interactive movie than a game? I think yes. But due to the fact that there is a lot of gameplay, no matter how shallow it is, same argument can be made that it is a video game. Does it matter in the end how it is classified? I don't put much weight in classification of anything, be it music, movies or games. I look at each of those as an experience in its entirety. Some can be analyzed more objectively, while others simply can't. Let's take Neo for example. Neo is the complete opposite of Hellblade 2. It is essentially a build simulator, but gameplay is 95% of it, even though out of those 95%, 40% would be doing things outside of actual mission gameplay by going through the menus. It's a huge part of it, but not a good gameplay part. Gameplay-focused games are much easier to objectively analyze and score because it is not that difficult to see what works and what doesn't work well in and for the game. Neo, for example, has terrible story, terrible main character, too much focus on grinding through the menus, but probably the best combat gameplay of all time. To simplify what I mean, Neo is a clear-cut game to judge and analyze. Hellblade is a much more artistic game, throwing everything into immersion but to the detriment of gameplay is not as easy to judge, which is why I've said when scoring it that it is the most irrelevant score I have ever given, because it won't and it shouldn't mean anything to any of you that have watched the review. What is the point of this video? No real point. It's just me thinking out loud and sharing thoughts. On streams and Discord we love to discuss stuff and engage in any sort of topic to extensively analyze, and I love this small community because of it, so I hope that you can understand to some degree this type of a video too. Anyway, have fun and see you soon.